Happy freezing Monday, January 15th. I hope you guys are doing all right. I figured what a better time than to try and get on here online than when we're all freezing and have nothing better to do at 8 o'clock at night than to maybe just sit here and craft a little bit. And in regular fashion, unfortunately, I am very behind, but wanted to get on here and create with you guys tonight. So I hope that you're doing well. I hope you're ready for some fun. I know that I definitely am. It has been a long time coming. And again, I know that this is our October thank you workshop. So again, running a little bit late, but is it ever really too late to create? I hope not. So, all right, what we're going to do tonight is actually a little bit of interactive. I'm going to teach quite a bit of little things for you. Grab your kit. We're going to finish up some of our pieces, but what I'm going to do as well, I have pre-cut your pieces for you, but I'm going to show you how to start from scratch with a 12 by 12 piece of paper so that you can create along. You can see how to do this going forward. This is the one that we're going to create tonight, and I'm going to show you when you use it or when we create it. It is like a trifold card that stands up on its own, so it's something that can be displayed in their, on their mantle or in their office or wherever. Here's another one I did for Christmas. Obviously, we're done with Christmas, but are we ever done with Christmas? Because it's coming back again next year, right? So it's always good to kind of get things done a little bit. And then with Valentine's Day coming up, I created this one and wanted to kind of just show you how you can take all of your old scraps. These are pieces that I had from workshop kits. I can't even tell you, several years old. These were PML cards. I love being able to take my PML cards, cut them up, and use them in a fun, fresh way. Obviously, this paper is a background paper that we have that is still from the Silver Bells collection. I believe it is still available. But I love how, again, I've talked about this time and time again, we can pull in papers from many years ago and still have them coordinate with our papers today, because we try and have colors that are very similar. All of our, if it says that it is a bluebell, it's going to be a bluebell from now until, we no longer have bluebell, or which we don't have anymore, but all of my bluebell is bluebell, right? And a lot of times too, they just coordinate across the board as well anyway, something very, very similar. So this is just a fun, these were PML cards here that I have. This was a PML card that I cut up. These were stickers from the sticker pack, some of our arrows, and then just a stamp set on a piece of cardstock. So again, just something that's really fun that you can pull out all of your pieces. We're using the same stamp set from the October stamp of the month. So I wanted to show you how it doesn't have to just be a fall theme. It can be for fall, for Christmas, Valentine's Day. You can use it however you want, especially if you love owls. Don't worry so much about the sayings that are in the kit as much as being able to use our cute little feathered friends. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to have you pull out your pieces, but at the same point in time, I'm going to pull out a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and I'm going to show you how we're going to create this. Now, I'm going to have lots of little pieces going tonight to be able to show this to you, so I apologize as there's going to be a lot of movement, but I want you to be able to kind of get a good idea of what to do. All right, so if you take your paper trimmer, all right, and we're going to cut this 12 by 12 piece into 5.5 by 12, so I'm just going to make a one straight cut at 5.5 by 12, and then I'm going to do another one 5.5 by 12, and then I am just going to take that piece away and cut this second 5.5 by 12 down to 5.5 by 8. So I'm just bringing this up, and it's going to be 5.5 by 8. All right, so now, you can use your paper trimmer for this piece if you'd like. I'm going to put my paper trimmer away just for a second. I'm going to bring it back out. But for very simple, very, creases that I can use time and time again, I like to just take out my scoring tool. If you have one of these, great. If not, go ahead, use your cutting mat or your cutting blade, and then just use a really dull end piece, or if you have got a scoring board, something like, or a scoring blade. So we're just going to make, this is our 5.5 by 12. we're just going to make a score at every 4 inches. So this is what the piece that you should now have in your kit. And again, you're just going to take the same thing. You're going to score it at the 4-inch mark going all the way down across on both sides. So I just flipped it, since obviously my board doesn't go all the way to the 8 inches. I just flip it and do it another one. So I've got one at 4 and then another one at 8. Then I'm going to take our 5.5 by 8 piece. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I am just going to score it at the 4-inch mark. Okay, so those are the pieces that you need. That's what it should look like that you already have, except for the scoring piece. So you'll want to go ahead and do that. And then you should have in front of you everything that I had sent. It's exactly what you're seeing here. All right, so now go ahead and take a ruler, or you can take your Versamat, your cutting tools, whatever you want that you like to measure things by. And we're going to do a couple of things, okay? Before I make my folds, and I fold this back and forth, I want to make a couple little points on this, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, right where the fold is, I don't know if you can see it very well in this light, but right where the fold is, I'm going to take my T-ruler, and I'm going to make a little notch right on that fold at the 2-inch mark. All right, I'm going to do it here, and then on the other side I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, it might not have been pushed up. Let me try it again. It doesn't look like it was. I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to turn it around so that I get it 2 inches from the top again. And just 2 inches. So I should have a little dot at each corner at the 2-inch mark, okay? So now here we're going to take back our cutting tool, and this again is where you're going to want to use your scoring blade or bone folder or something like that that's going to be able to get into the crease but without cutting it. And I'm just going to line my dot up in my track and put that sharp corner at the tip right here in the track as well, so that I am going to make a long diagonal, not a cut. We don't want to do a cut, but we want to press it down right there in there so that we can kind of get that scored line, okay? So I just want to make sure it's all in track, and then I'm just going to take my bone folder and I'm going to gently just kind of push it. I don't want it to break through the paper, but I want it to make a nice good crease, okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing, going from that same spot to the other side, and it's going to go to the next crease. So I'm going up from the center to the next crease at the very, very top. All right. So far, I don't know if you can see this well, hopefully you can. So far I've got like a big V going down from the top of my page, and it's meeting here at the center mark. Okay, now I'm going to do the exact same thing there on this bottom portion, but I'm going to come from this middle piece, and I'm going to go up, and then from here I'm going to go down. So we're going to just line this back up so that the first crease is again, and that in my cutting guide, but I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to take my scoring tool, and I'm just going to kind of press down a little bit to kind of get a mark there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay. So we're going to put the tip back up so it lines up in the cutting track. And then I've got my dot here that I have, and I'm just going to go from the dot. I'm going to make sure I've got it nice and lined up so it goes right to that tip. Go from the dot out. All right. So that's what we've got so far. Okay. So before we do anything else with that, we're going to go ahead and take out our 5x8 piece. This is the piece that we have now, and we're going to do the exact same thing, except we're going to take this piece and we're going to go from the 2-inch mark here. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to put this in my, I'm going to use my cutting tool, and I'm just going to mark the 2-inch mark right here on this edge, and I am going to actually cut this time this little piece from here to my fold. I'm going to cut that off. Okay. You're going to line it up in the track, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make a cut. And there we go. So that's what that should look like. And I can go ahead and fold that now if I'd like. So I'm just going to go ahead, put it in here, take my bone folder so I can make sure I've got a nice, good, clean fold. And this is all that I'm looking for right now, okay? So I've got this piece where I've made my score marks, okay? And then I've got this piece. Now, we're going to go ahead and fold this, but we're going to need our paper trimmer again in a minute, okay? So the way that you're going to fold this is this first piece here is going to go, and I'm just folding it on that bottom part, just like this. And I'll explain why in just a minute, okay? But I'm just folding on this bottom part. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to put it here as a base for where I want to fold this top part back onto, okay? So I'm just folding it down. I'm using my fingers to kind of give it a nice guide, doing the same thing on this side. Okay, and then I need to fold this piece in. So it's not hard to do, it's just hard to do it on camera so that you can see it. Normally I fold it in on myself. Okay, so just like that. And then again, I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to crease it in really well so that it goes down. Now I didn't say this at the beginning, but I am using the lighter colored on the front. You can use any color that you want, light, dark, that really does not matter, okay? As far as this, you just want, and really honestly, this isn't going to matter a whole lot either, but whatever side you're using here is the side that you're going to want this on as well. All right, so now we want to do the opposite on this side, okay? So same thing, I'm going to just turn it upside down so because it's easier for me to see it this way, but this time I want this part here to come out at me, okay? So in order to do that, I'm going to fold this part in. And then this part in. And this is why I did not fold my card on the creases to begin with. Okay, see, it looks like a big old crazy mess, but once you start folding it down on those pieces, it all just kind of comes and aligns together. All right, so I just want to make sure everything's going to line up. I'm going to take my bone folder, I'm going to press down. Looks like it got off just a little bit, so let me see if I can use that just to give it a nice good crease. Just like that. All right, so this is what it should look like. One big crazy fold, right? And I can go ahead and kind of open it up now that I've got my folds done and just erase my little marks so that they don't show up. All right, so that's what we've got. Now, if I was to give this as a card right now, there's no way for it to stay up. You can tell there's no way I can hold this up, but that's what this piece here is going to help us with. All right, so I'm going to show you how this piece is going to help it be able to stand up and create this little mark like that. Okay, you see how this one's standing up? This is the same thing we're going to create, but notice how this one will stand up. And this one is just a little too top heavy. It can't do anything. All right, so go ahead and we're going to grab our pieces. Okay, now, a couple of the things that we want to do with this, I'm going to take out all of these pieces. We're going to have to cut some of these down from the way that they are now. And I wanted to talk to you about this before we did it, okay? And then we're going to take these little pieces here as well. All right, so we're going to use well, you can decide if you want to use which, all the same side, if you want to change them up, however you want to do it. I'm going to create it like I initially did here. However, you can create it however you want. In fact, maybe I'll even change it up. I guess I'll change it up, all right? So what we're going to do is we need this piece here to fit right here. But notice it's got a part that's bent back, right? So what we're going to do is we are actually going to cut that just like we did the other one. And we're going to take this down to, let me look at my notes, a 5 1/8 piece. that's going to be tall, and if I bring this in, this corner is fine here, but it's going to be down here that I want this to be cut. Okay, so this is the height that I need and all of that, and I want it to be at 1 7/8 that I'm going to cut off right here. So I'm just going to take my blade, now one thing as well I'll show you is this paper has the design going in any and which direction, and this paper has a design that's kind of crisscross, so both of these would work absolutely perfect for what we want. But if you have a design that is absolutely, you can tell by looking at it, it's all going in one direction, you need to be careful how you're going to do this, because we're going to turn some of our pieces a little bit, and you want to be able to see kind of what you're looking at and what you're trying to do. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that out just for a second. It's hard to see when I'm cutting down from the top, and I'm going to bring in my T-ruler, and I want to cut it at 1 7/8 from the top on the right side. All right, so I'm just putting a little mark there. Okay. So this is going to, we're going to do all of these at the same time. This is going to go in this direction. I've got it cutting right here at the 1 7/8. So let me put this aside. I'm going to put it right here so I can see which one I have for my first piece. Then let's just do the second or the last piece, because that's going to be the easiest to do as well. Same thing, I just need to do it on the inside. So I'm going to mark it with my ruler, and I'm going to do it. Let me see, I've got to think about this, how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it on here, mark it at the 1 7/8. I'll move this up so you can see. 1 7/8, which is going to be about right here in that center, and I want to cut that there, and I'm going to cut it from here to here so that it will fit in that spot. Okay, now on this last piece, or my middle piece really, I need to do the same cuts on both sides. So what I'm going to do is same thing. Okay, and again, when I'm done with this, I can flip it over, I can do it however I want. I wanted these two to be my front sides. So if you're going to use the black or the brown as your front side, you'll want to have made those measurements, those marks on the side that you're going to cut. Okay, I will say that. Because I have this going to be in that second or the third part, and this is going to be on the first part, I'm going to use this one as my middle, just to kind of give it some change. So I'm going to do the same thing. If I look at my base piece, this piece here needs to fit there. But notice I've got a lot of folds and stuff, and that's not going to fit well. So I'm going to take my piece. The top corner is going to be right where it is, but my inside mark needs to be again at the 1 7/8. So I'm going to mark it with my ruler here, and I'm going to go for cut from here to here, right? Now on this side, I'm going to turn it, same thing, 1 7/8, so that when I have it, I will see, and it's kind of hard to see my marks, but I'm going to cut from here to here, and then on this side, I'm going to cut from here to here, so it goes down. It's going to be like a big Z almost, or a crisscross. All right. So let's go ahead and get out our trimmer. I'm going to put these in order so that you can see. And you're going to want to keep a track of these little pieces that you cut off, because you're going to be able to use them, okay? So if it helps you to have this out beside you so that you can keep it aligned and remember where you're cutting to and from, keep this out. That will help you. I can see my little markers right there. However, it does also look like it could be one of these little pieces. So I like to just keep that out as an example. All right, so I'm lining this up in my paper trimmer. I'm putting the mark that I made with my pencil in the track, and I'm putting the tip of the other side in the track as well. And I'm just going to go and make my cut. And that should fit well right there. Yep, it does. And I'm going to put this aside just for a minute. I'm going to need that though, okay? So I'll actually put these together just so I can keep track of them. I'm going to get my last one again, because that one's going to be the easiest for me to see and do. And I'm going to do the same thing. On this one, this is my last piece, so this is number 3, okay? I'm doing my piece here to the bottom corner. So my marking that I have that was on the left side to the bottom right corner, just like that. Okay, and I'm gonna just put this in my trimmer and put that right beside so I have those pieces. Now I'm gonna take that middle piece. This is the one that's gonna have lots of little cuts, okay? So as a reminder, just to make sure I know that my bottom corner needs to go up to this top piece, so I'll do that real quick. Gotta see if I can find my marking. It's hard to see it on this brown right there. All right, and so we're just gonna do that right there. So that's my bottom. And then my top is gonna come down on the left side, and that's gonna go up to my right corner. Same thing. So we're just kind of creating our own little zigzag here. All right. There you go. And then this is what our piece should look like at this point. So you should have this here, this here. So here are your 3 pieces, all right? Now let's get our base back. So right now we're just dealing with our 5.5 by 12 piece that we had that we've made our folds on, and let's go ahead and put them down. Now one thing I will say is you're probably gonna have to cut down a little bit more on some of these because we cut it so it would fit into this whole piece originally, but then we cut it so that we could use it in another area. So we're probably gonna have to cut and shave off just like another 1/4 of an inch, or not even 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so first of all, I'm just gonna put these center pieces in, or my big pieces in, and then when we will go back and put our little triangle pieces in. If you're on watching with me tonight, let me know if you've received snow, and if so, how much. We had the promise of snow all day, but we have not received anything but a lot of rain, a little bit of sleet, and a lot of cold. All right. But that was enough to get Mike to build us a fire, and we have thoroughly been enjoying the fire. All right, so there we go for right now. This is what we've got. So very, very simply, you're just gonna take this piece and we're gonna put it in this opening. But notice how it is too big to fit in there and get that same kind of border that we've got here. So, and if we look at them, they should all kind of be, this one's gonna fit okay, but not get quite the same border. I'll put that one in. If yours happens to be like that, you just want to cut 1/8 of an inch off on your long flat end right here on either side, okay? So if I go to cut this one off, I'm going to cut it off of right here, and I'm just going to take about 1/8 of an inch off. No snow, Joetta, oh my goodness, but in the teens. I would be surprised though if you got snow where you are. But with it being in the teens, if you're like me, you feel like it should have snow, right? Because whenever it's that cold, I feel like we should get some benefit out of it. We're supposed to be in the teens tomorrow and the rest of this week as well. So I am glad that we don't have snow here though for the groups that are coming in, because I want them to still be able to get in. I'm just hoping that there's no snow in their area. Their group coming in is from Chattanooga, and right now it's showing Chattanooga has a lot of snow, so we will see. All right, so you can see here, this one isn't a great fit. I could probably cut off a little bit. Let's check this one as well. Okay, that one's gonna fit as well. So I'm gonna leave that one. And I'm just lining it up with what you see, okay? So all of my browns are here, just like that. And then this one, same thing. It looks like I need to cut that one down a little bit. So let me do that real quick. Just bringing it back in. Again, I'm just doing it on the long side, top or bottom side, whichever it is. And I just want to get enough off that it's going to allow me to have my borders kind of match up a little bit. All right. Thank you. We will take your prayers for sure, Joetta. I miss you. I can't wait to see you guys soon. Been talking to Teresa and getting everything settled up, so I'm excited about that. All right, so here we go. We're just going to stick this one on. All right, so make sure that's nice and straight. All right. And there you go. So right now it looks cute, but again, same thing. It's not going to stand up, right? So that's where this piece comes in. We're going to actually stick this behind here and glue it down so that it will give us a nice stand. But before we do, we want to add on some of our little strips. So you can do whatever you want with these. You can have them be same color as it goes down. I gave you enough that you could kind of decide. You could crisscross them and just kind of play with them, have it all the same color. You can do however you want. I'm going to just keep it along the same colors on each side. And when I say same colors, I mean like my middle section is going to be my left piece that has my cut. So I'm going to put my brown. And on this one, I'm going to put my fall leaves. Just like this. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to put adhesive all along the top of this, but not really on where I just put my paper. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone because that part's going to stick out. So I only want this top part to have adhesive. And I'm going to take this and just adhere it straight to the back. Let me flip this over so it's easier for you to see. And line it up directly with the back of my piece that I already have. And I'm going to press down. And then there you go. We want to go ahead and make our fold. Make sure if there's anything in those corners that it's nice and flat. So I'm going to just fold it up again. Take my bone folder, flatten it out. And I'm good to go. And then now it will stand up perfectly. Okay. Now is the fun part. All we're doing, it's all fun actually. I love being able to create like a special fold card, something unique, different that maybe people aren't used to seeing, that kind of thing. So now we're just going to decorate it up. All right. So we've got all of these little pieces here and you've got your designs. Hopefully you've already pre-cut out some of your little owls, all the cute little owls that we have here. You can use any of them that you like. I think I'm just going to kind of go with some of the ones I had before. Let me see. I'll go with that one. Again, I love to do these on the, and I'm going to get another branch as well, on the watercolor paper, because the watercolor paper just really helps give it that textured look that looks like feathers. You can use watercolored markers or watercolored pencils. You can use whatever pencils you want to do this. I'm just using regular pencils. Whoops, I picked it back up, didn't I? I'm just using regular pencils so that I'm not trying to get a soft hazy look that you sometimes get from your watercolor. I actually am just trying to get the that texture so that I can get the colors. And then from the last class, we talked about how the natural landscape pencils are the perfect color combination, in my opinion, for these. So I'm just going to pull these out, and you can color these up however you want. I mean, if you're using this paper, if you're using something different. So I'm going to bring in again my original so you can see that. And then I'm going to bring in the other two as well. So my originals I used with marker on flat paper, so you're not getting that textured look. And then on the other one that I did, that's more of a Valentine's Day theme, this is on my textured watercolor paper, and I use my pencils, and you can see just the really soft, feathery look that gives. And I really try to keep these colors close to what I was going to put it on. So that's why those look the way that they do. All right, so again, color whatever you want with whatever mediums you have, whatever you feel most comfortable using. This is absolutely what you know, whatever you feel up to doing, you can do. All right, so I'm going to take this color, and actually, I think I'm going to do my dark timber first so I can kind of see what my colors are. I'm just going to color. I'm not being super careful. I'm really not trying to get shading. The watercolor paper is giving me a lot of the shading that I need anyway, or that feathery look. So I'm just kind of filling in where there might be a little bit of the branch. And then I'm going to take, let's see, foliage green, and I'm just going to kind of go in. Do I want foliage? Yeah, the foliage is kind of that green that comes from this paper. It's that bluish green in my opinion. And I'm just kind of going into the centers of the creases or the veins of the leaves to kind of make those stand out a little bit more. But I'm really not trying to be very cautious, I guess. Maybe I should, I don't know. But, and then I'm just going to go for a slightly lighter color and just color that in the outside area like it's coming from it. The biggest thing is you just kind of want it to work with the papers that you're using. So if you were to recreate this and use other papers, again, just match your papers. Okay. So there you go. Now, if I was to create this one, like I've been doing a lot of them with the gray really would not work well, in my opinion, on this paper. So I would change that, and I'm going to do it now more in the browns. And so that's kind of why I started with this dark timber. I wanted to make sure I did not use the same browns that I would use for my owl. All right, so I'm going to bring this in. And I've got oak tree and chestnut brown. I'm going to do chestnut brown as kind of my darker one. So I'm going to kind of go into the areas that might be a little bit darker. And you can see that it's kind of more of a red, which works really, really well here with, I think that's probably Sundance. And that works really, really well with it. Okay. And then I'm just going to fill it in. And I am just being ever so gentle. I am not trying to get a harsh line. And we talked about this last time, but if you missed it, if you have never used your water or any of your pencils before, if this is your first time, the best way to get a good look with your pencils and so that they want to blend together well is to actually take a scratch piece of paper. Let me see if I have one right here. Here's one. And you're just going to color it down so that it gets like a flat spot in the nib of your pencil. You do not want to color with that harsh line at the top, or you're going to get just that. You're going to get those harsh lines. So for some things, like if you're trying to outline, you want those harsh lines. But when you're coloring something in, you want a nice, soft, blendable area. So that's where you're just going to kind of then take your pencil and kind of color in those areas with that flat spot. And I'm just kind of very gently going over all of this. Very, very gently. All right, and then I'm going to go and get, let me see what Hawthorne Brown looks like. I'm going to use the Hawthorne Brown on his little beak and feet, making those stand out just a little bit more. Looks like I might have missed a little spot with the, there we go. All right, now you can use whatever color that you want for his hat or anything like that if you're trying to bring, in a scarf, if you're trying to bring in the colors that you had there. You might want to stick with like the Sundance. I think it's kind of what I had in mind. Let me see. Actually, I think I'm going to do mine more of this yellow that I've got here. And I'm just going to really play it in. I'm trying to go with those fall colors so it looks more like a gold. And I'm just going to feather this out. Do it really soft on the lid and maybe a little bit, you know, darker on that line, and then really dark, or not dark, but just pressed down, I guess you could say, for the little bob at the top. And there you go. So again, comes together super, super easy. Now what we want to do is we just want to take this and kind of decide where our layout is, how we want to do it. So this background, having the brown background, definitely makes him pop, right? And also I think the markers too helped. And this kind of he falls into the background. But I love the look of the leaves in the background. It kind of makes me think of the fall time or autumn time where they're kind of coming. So what I'm going to do is I've got this piece here. This we're going to put up underneath, and then you can use whatever saying you want here and use the side of your little strip that matches the side of your cardstock. So whether if you use the dark side, you'll want to use the dark side of your strip. If you use the light side, you're going to want to use the light side of your strip. Let me go ahead and take these off away so that we can see them. And so we're just going to pull out, again, whatever saying you want. Warm wishes, thanks, you could do that. You could do happy owl days. You could use a totally different stamp set if you wanted. If you wanted to use this now for a different theme, since we're definitely not in October anymore, right? But I'm just going to stick with the warm wishes, and I'm going to do it in my black. Just going to take this out. Now I know that I want to dovetail both ends, so I'm going to put my warm wishes in the center so that I have a space here to dovetail from there out, okay? It's so fun to finally be able to craft again. It has been quite a while. For those of you who don't know, Mom and Dad have moved in with us, which is wonderful. We're thrilled to have them here, truly. Truly we are. But we've had a lot of different things going on. And so where I normally take this time when we're closed down in the month of December to scrapbook and get lots of stuff done and caught up, it seems like the last couple years, I think God sat in heaven and laughed and said, well, we'll see, watch this. And so his ways are higher than our ways, and I'll follow him any day. But it definitely does not look like the way I imagine it to be most of the time. I don't know about you, but it's definitely that way. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I want these colors to come through. So I'm just going to put adhesive all on the back, but I definitely want some along that bottom. So where I might just put one strip, this time I'm going to put one right in the middle. Or I'm going to put one at the top and the bottom to make sure that I have enough that I'm going to get good coverage that's going to adhere onto that. And I'm going to take my scissors again and just cut off the piece that's showing through on my dovetail. There you go. And if that bothers you, to me that looks like a little tag that you would have like in a folder or something. But if that bothers you, you could cut it off more, or you could have it come down and come out more. But I actually really like that. All right, so what I'm going to do, before I adhere that down, I want to get everything else placed. So I know where I'm going to have it. Kind of get my pieces laid out. I think that looks well. I do see a little bit of that still coming through, so let me cut that away first. There we go. All right, now I want to put this down. And as you can see, I am overhanging this branch. It's definitely going to be longer than I need it to be. You can do two things. You can have it going and folding out into here and make that fold. I think that's what I did on my original. Let me look real quick. Well, here's my original right in front of me. Nope, I cut it off. I think on some other ones I did leave it, but on this one I cut it off, and I'm going to do the same thing, okay? So before I put that on, I'm just going to cut it off so it's taken care of and it's not sticking out and bothering me. all right, then I'm going to take, I'm going to take my, I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to cut off the piece that's showing through on my dovetail. So I'm just going to cut it off so it's taken care of and it's not sticking out and bothering me. All right, then I'm going to take, I'm going to my owl. Now, in a typical situation, especially if this was a scrapbook page or, you know, a regular standard card, I would probably use this. I would probably put 3D foam tape behind him and make him stand up. But because this card already has so much pop to it or fluff to it, it's gonna be close to the thickness of what I can put in the mail without having to put extra. So I'm gonna just put him down straight to the paper, no 3D foam tape, but have him overlap this, my warm wishes, just a little bit. And that's gonna kind of give it that depth that 3D foam tape would typically do. All right, and so we've got this. Now here, this is for our saying, whatever we want it to say. You could put it here. You could stamp another design on here. You could put your title on here. As you can see, I've got From All of Us here. And then I also put in another owl. So let's go ahead. I'll do the From All of Us. And if you would prefer, you can definitely use like a mocha or a different color here. Maybe if you have chocolate from time ago, that might be a good color, something like that. I'm just going to stick with the black because black works well in this, and I have it right out. Although, believe it or not, I have the mocha out as well. But since I did my original stamp in black, I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to put this here at the top, like that. Oops. The magnetic caught, or in my ink pad caught my scissors. All right. And so same thing. Could put this right down. Now, this is white, and my background paper obviously does not have any white in it. But if I had gone and tried to match it, it would not stand out probably as well as I would need it to, and I would need to do something to kind of help pop it up, which is absolutely fine. I could put like a second layer, a different color underneath it. I could do several things. So it's totally up to you if that's how you want to do it, but that is why I chose to go with the white. And I'm just going to put this directly down. Just like this. And then I'm going to take another little friend. I think I'm actually going to take this one that I already have. And I like the blue because it kind of works with this grayish blue that we have here and makes it pop out a little bit. So I've already got him colored. Same thing in a typical situation. I would have 3D foam tape, but I don't, because I don't want that little thickness. And you don't need to put anything here. It's just another little fun thing to kind of dress it up a little bit. And then, and if you don't want it to show right here, move that down. You've got a little bit of room. So let me see actually if I can still do that without tearing my paper. Okay, yep. So I might just move that down just a little bit. And then if I wanted to, there we go. You just see a little piece there, and I think that works well. And then you've got your leaves coming through just like that. And so it's a very simple but fun card. Now what I'll show you that I did on this other one is I dressed up, I took some of our packages that we had from some of our Christmas stamps, and I apologize, I can't remember which one that was right now. And I took some of our Irresistibles, I cut those down into the packages, and I did the same thing. So I'm dressing up my paper, even though I used the same background paper all the way across, I was able to dress it up and it didn't look so plain, okay? It didn't just look like I used the same thing all along. And then for this one, I did just like we just did, where we had two of one color and one of a different. This was just a PML card right here. So I loved being able to use up my PML cards, and then I had more that I was able to use up for this base page. And then I just did a stamp and was able to put that directly on. And on this one, I actually wanted a little bit of my arrow to show through. So that's why I had it raised, because I thought that the gray was just too plain. There wasn't enough detail, but I loved the little arrow here at the end. And you could have the arrow going either direction. I actually chose to have it going in because to me, this was almost like a scrapbook page where you have, you know, you want everything directing in. I know he looks like he's flying off, but the U part here was directed in, which is what they're going to read. And then I have my arrow holding it on, and I could have flipped it out. The other thing too is it reacted differently with my paper. All of my paper shows the arrows going to the right, and so I'm pointing back to the left. So again, pointing back to the love you. So you don't have to think about it that much as I did, but you know, I was just having some fun with it. And again, I wanted that to show through, or something there in black to show through, and I thought that that worked really well. So I hope that was fun. I hope that you enjoyed that. We're going to continue, and I'm going to work on our 6x8 layouts, and we're going to kind of talk about something else really fun. So tonight is all about teaching, and I'll try not to make this super long, but I did want to kind of talk to you about some of the things. And you're probably wondering, in your kit, you received a bottle that looks like this, and I have not talked about it at all. And so we're going to talk about this some. If you were at my November Happy Scrappin' retreat that we had, you already have one of these, and so you're way ahead of everyone else. You know exactly what's going on and what to do with it. But let's talk about it, and you may just need some little tips and reminders. But this is kind of like a spray shimmer pen, what we're creating. And so all I did was I got some of these bottles that you can get at the dollar store. I got them on Amazon, just little spray bottles, and I picked up some mica powder. Mica powder is what is typically in like all the things that have the shimmer, but it's also in, if you read this, it says cosmetic grade pigment powder. It can also be in your shimmery eyeshadow. So if you wanted to use a colored shimmery eyeshadow, you would get the actual color to come through on this, okay? So you get to kind of play a little bit, but I got the white because the white will work with anything that we're trying to do. It will also give that silvery white shimmer if I don't want to do another color to it. And this whole thing was probably like $8. I mean, this was pretty cheap. We taught this for our workshop. I've made several bottles, and you can see how much is still in there. So this is going to last me a really, really long time. The other thing you're going to need, if you can listen, you can tell I've got something inside of it, okay? What I've got inside of it are BBs. I just went to Walmart. I grabbed some of these BBs. These are what you would normally find in the bottle of like a spray can of paint or something like that. And what does it do? It just helps the paint not settle to the bottom. It helps stir it, all of that. And I put between 5 to 8 in my bottle. The more you have, the easier and quicker it's going to be to mix it up. Okay. And then the other thing I used the cheapest possible hairspray I could find. And that came in a container of a spray bottle, which, let me say, is not easy to find anymore. I thought that it would be at like the dollar store. I went to all Dollar Tree, Dollar General, all that. None of them had. They're all aerosol now. So I was able to get this at Walmart. I think it was like $2. But it lasts a really long time, and it's, you know, probably the cheapest one that's out there, and it works perfect. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take, the one that you've received already has some of the mica powder in it, and it's got some of the BBs. But if you were going to do this and create more, what you would want to do is you would want to take, this little thing comes with a scoop. If you don't have, if you don't get this, then you could just use some shavings, like I said, off of eyeshadow, something like that. But this little scoop is perfect. Look how tiny that is. Okay. So you're going to use that little scoop, and you're going to put about 1.5 scoops, which is what you have in yours, into your bottle. Okay. And I'm going to move this off. I've got my board here so that I can wipe this off really quickly if I need to. We're going to take this off. And I put that in here, and then, like I said, I put 5 to 8 BBs, and that's what you have. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to open up your hairspray, and you're just going to pour your hairspray into here till it's about half full. Now, you can do this with alcohol. You can do this without hairspray, but the reasoning we're using hairspray is going to help it stick to the paper better than probably anything else that you've tried. Alcohol, it will, you know, this has got alcohol in it as well, but alcohol on its own doesn't have that sticky nature. So, but you want to use alcohol rather than water because it's going to dry a lot faster. And then all you're going to do is shake it up. Now for tonight's purposes, we're going to leave it just like this, okay? But I want to show you, let me grab some others. I'm just shaking it really, really well. I don't need to really worry about it too much because it's all fresh and new and all of that. So you can see it's got a really shimmery, pretty look to it. If I want more shimmer, I can add more of the mica powder, stir it again, and it's going to be good to go. Okay, but let me show you some of these other colors that I did. Okay, so Christmas is past, but Valentine's Day is here. So here's another example. Okay, so here's Scarlet. What I did for this is I did everything that you just saw. I did with the mica powder, the BBs, the, what do you call it? The hairspray. But then I took some of our re-inkers. Okay, these re-inkers you use with your ink pads. When your ink pad, you've used it up a lot, and you need to, instead of buying another ink pad, you just get these re-inkers, and then they last like, I don't know, maybe 10 refills of an ink pad. They last really, really well to be able to go across to fill up your ink pad. So you would just literally, I'm not going to do it, but I will show you. You would just take, if this was Scarlet, obviously it's not, it's mocha, but you would just take the ink, you take the lid off, and you would just squirt it down into here, and you would let it set for a little while. And that would be how you would refill your ink. But there's a lot of techniques that you can do with your re-inkers as well. And we don't talk enough about the techniques that we can do, but I did want to kind of show you some of the things, okay? So here is Scarlet. You can't even see that I have my mica powder because I made these back in either October or November. And if they sit there for a while, all of the mica powder is just going to go to the bottom. Look at all of that powder right there. And so this is, again, why those BBs are really important to be in there. So now I'm just going to kind of sit here, and it's going to take just a little bit. I'm just going to kind of hit it up against my hand, do whatever I need to kind of break up that powder that's sitting at the bottom. And those BBs are sitting there too. And you can see that it's starting to get that cool shimmery look. It's not as separated as it was before, right? So that's kind of what we're doing here. And I'm just going to kind of show you some of the neat things that you can do with this. This is just a really cool design, really neat look that I love. Again, this is kind of like your shimmer pen, but if you wanted to do bigger things, bigger designs than you would with a shimmer pen, this is a great way to be able to do it. And I'm going to show you how it's going to work for some of our techniques, okay? So I've got most of it. Like I said, it sat here for several months. So I did, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 colors, but I have a lot more re-inkers. And for my group in November, I let them choose out of any of my re-inkers and maybe what their favorite color was to make their own. And a lot of people, you can always start with the white and then add your re-inker in later. But the white is going to take you many different places. Like you're going to be able to get a lot done with that white. So that's why we're going to be using the white tonight, but this is just going to show you how to do the other. And if you think about the card that we did, see, it's almost there. That's good enough for sure. Okay, so if you think about the cards that we did last time we were together, if you remember, I had said you could do something in the background here, or in this one, you could also think about how you might want to do something like this, where you could take that card and you could add more color to it. So this is how you would do just that, is you would just take, let me see if I can grab my card that we created together. Here we go. I've got that blue. Let me grab it. Okay. So here's Journey. And I think, now I will say that when you put re-inker in it, depending on how many drops you add, will determine how many or how dark your color is, your design. So we kind of played with this a little bit when we were together in November, and we saw that maybe 6 drops was going to definitely give it a lighter shade. And no matter what, because you're adding white to it, you are going to get a lighter shade. But when I say drops, I mean of your re-inker. So here I've got Journey, which is our color of the year. This, I believe, is Caprice, so this is not Journey. So this is going to be off just a little bit, but I want us to kind of play and see what you can do. All right, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my tools that just has like this little fine circular end that you can use for like if you're trying to do your scoring tool or anything like that to get a little round dot. That's what I'm going to take right now and see what we can come up with. And I'm also going to show you kind of some of the samples that I created with this as well. All right, so let me get another scrap piece of paper. Where's my scrap paper? Here's a scrap paper. And before I put it on my card, I want to see if it's going to be enough alike. So I'm just stirring this up again. All right, and then I'm just going to take just a little bit here. I could pour it out if I wanted more, but I just need a little bit on this one. All right, so I'm just going to do that. And then we're going to just dot this in the paper or on the paper, and this is going to give me such, look at that. It almost reminds me of those markers that we had in high school or, you know, elementary school or whatever, that were that magnetic marker. And you can do it however you want, right? So there you go. And because I am using something really tiny, just a small design, it's not spreading as much. Now, notice here I have this, and see how the big spread is? I've got my color in the center, but it's much more concentrated here. I don't have so much color coming out, right? But if I take the end of my bottle and I do the same thing, I'm going to get much bigger circles. So this is a good way to kind of see the difference of what you would do. And notice you can get more of that color goes on the out, but the mica powder stays in the center. So that's fine too. Just know like what you're looking for and what it's doing. These two here are on plain cardstock. This one here is on our watercolor paper. So it really doesn't look a whole lot different. It probably doesn't spread out as far on the watercolor paper. That's how it looks to me. It kind of sat on top. In fact, we'll even do a little bit of this color so you can see how that does. It just sits on top for a little bit longer than it did on the regular cardstock because watercolor takes a little bit longer for it to be absorbed. Now, if you look, the Journey on its own is not this color, right? It is a lot more, it's a darker color. This is absolutely a Capri color. But because I only used about 8 drops of the Journey ink, re-inker in here, you can see that the color is really, really close. So this is where I'm going to take, and I'm just going to dot some of these in the background. And as I dot these, I'm trying to kind of create a triangle effect so that it looks random, but it really isn't, if that makes sense. I'm going to go off the edge, down here. Let's see. Don't overthink it like I do, but just have fun. And this is going to kind of give it that shimmery look, right? Then, if I want to do the same thing with my white, because we're pretending we have snow where we are, right, Joetta? I don't have any, you don't have any, but we want to pretend we have some. So I'm just going to do the same thing. Just going to add my white to this. I'm going to clean off the end of my dipper, so I'm only getting white now. And I'm just going to kind of go back and do the same thing. In person, this shows up a whole lot better than it probably does on camera. And I'm just kind of going in between the blue spots. But this is going to add a different shimmer. And more color to it. All right, so there you go. You can hopefully see what that looks like there, where you're kind of getting that in the background. And I just think that's a really fun look. Okay, so that is doing it very controlled. You know exactly where it's going. Everything's great, right? Then you also have, I'm just going to play for a little bit, okay? I want you to see kind of some of the designs and things that you can do. Then you have the ability to just, I'm going to use this from our our pieces. I'm going to pull this in. Let me clean up my mess a little bit so I don't put other pieces in it. Okay, sorry about that noise. That would drive me insane. All right, so we've got these. You can see all the differences. I'll move that up there so you can kind of see it. All right, now I want you to kind of see and play, what if you were just going to do an actual spray? So obviously it's like any spray bottle. The closer you are, the more you hold it, you know, the direction, all of that, that's going to kind of play a little bit into it. And mine, so there, I'm getting these kind of splattery looks, or I can take it and drop it, or I can kind of get it if I want it in more of a direct look. You can kind of do it like this, and it's giving me that splatter look, but without having all the spray. It's getting more of that droplet in different places, right? Okay, so scarlet is definitely a much darker color, but notice this is scarlet right here. Notice how it is not showing as super dark. Okay, so if I want, this is the color of scarlet right here. This is the color that I'm getting. They don't really match 100%. So this is one of those that you've got to kind of be okay with it not matching, or using a lot of Rinker. And then even still, I don't think that you're going to be able to get a perfect match. But I'm going to go ahead and add in 6 more drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're going to close it up. I'm going to shake it up again and see if I can tell if it's any darker. Some of these, like we tried grape, and we could definitely tell a difference in the grape. But after you get to a certain point, it's just not going to get any darker. And that again is because of the silver white mica powder. Again, you could use a colored eyeshadow. You could use any of that the same way that we're doing this, okay? The only thing you're going to get is you wouldn't necessarily get a color match or in the same color family with your eyeshadow as you would with this. But with eyeshadows, you could use your silver, you could use your, you know, basic brown, black, that kind of thing. All right, so let's see if we got any darker. To me, this one here kind of looks like a pinky peach. And then there, that's a little bit darker. I wouldn't say a lot darker, but I would say that that's a little bit darker. Let's try it on the watercolor paper. Do we see any difference there? Really, the watercolor shouldn't make the color any different. It's just the absorption, so we don't get that as big of a circle around it. All right. So how do we bring this in so that it just gives it a really cool, fun look? Like why would I use this, or how would I use this? So there's a couple different ways that we're going to use it. And we're going to use, I'm going to bring in our project. We're going to use it with stencils. And if you look, you can see there's a stenciled design on the background of our paper. And I did this just with the white. I do it like this because it's going to take my plain basic cardstock. Not that plain cardstock isn't a good thing, it is, but it's going to kind of step it up a notch. It's going to take it so it doesn't look so simple and plain and flat. Without putting it through an embossing folder or anything like that, it's going to give it some detail. But this is just one design on white, very subtle. You can see it when you're looking at it, and it just makes it stand out, and it's fun and cool, right? Let me show you a different design. Here's a Christmas design that I did. And here, this is using our multiple layered stencils. And what's cool about this is I used several different colors here, but if you look, you can see that some of these colors are using the sage, and it's got the mica powder in it. So it took this design that I was able to create on my own with different colors, and it brought some of that mica, shimmer in just certain areas. It's not on the whole spot. It's just in certain areas. The whole thing's not covered, but you can see that just some of the leaves, some of the little berries have it. And that really gives it a really cool look as well. And so imagine doing a whole sheet of this in a 12 by 12 and then cutting it down like this to this size and being able to use it at the backgrounds of layouts and cards, something like that, or just even doing a card base like this. I love it. And all it was just using my stencils and my ink and then putting the mica, putting the shimmer on top of after I mix. And you could do it with the white on top of the color, although it may fade it out a little bit, or you can add your re-inker to it and then again get a little bit of lighter of a color, but it's going to mix in and it's not going to look like it's an overlay, like a piece of vellum on top. But if you're looking for that vellumy look, you could do it. So I don't know if you can tell, but these colors definitely have some shimmer. Those berries do, but there's no shimmer on the branch. No shimmer on these branches. It's more of the berries and then just some of these leaves. There's none on there except just in those little corners. So it's a really fun, cool technique to do to get a really wide variety of projects. For our purposes tonight, we're going to keep it really simple, but what I thought was, I think it would be really cool for you to try this and practice with it, especially in lieu of the fact that we have snow, where some people have snow. We have the idea or the thought of snow. We just don't actually have it, right? So this is one of those things that you could do with it. By adding the white, you could get that shimmery look if you're trying to do a snow layout or something like that. All right, so what we're going to do is go ahead and grab your pieces, and I'm going to try and set my area back up, so I apologize. It is a little cray-cray, but we're working on it. All right, so here's my original, just like that, and then here's my kit. And you can use any stencil that you have. It doesn't have to be just a certain one, you know, it doesn't have to be a specific one. And that's why I said in the supply list, you know, what is your favorite stencil? So I try not to, you know, use something that's going to be completely opposite of, you know, if what my design is here, but something that's going to give me, to complement it. So this is my thin line or slim line stencil, but this is going to work perfectly for this layout. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put this down on my mat, and I just kind of want to get my corners. That's all I'm trying to do is get my corners. So I'm going to adhere this down so this won't move. I'm going to put it just right here to my paper, and then I'm going to see if this will work. That's not going to hold it down, I don't think. Nope. All right. Give me some washi tape. Or this will work. All right. I don't really care where this goes because it's just going to be a background, a design, but I don't want it to move either. Okay. Now you're also going to take like a sponge dauber, a piece of a sponge, anything like that will work. I like to use a sponge dauber just because A, they're cheap, B, I can put it on my finger and I have better control and I know where it's going. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take, I hope by now you've got yours all made up. Okay. So I'm just putting it in here. I'm shaking it up well, just to make sure I've got all my powder nice and even. Then you can do this on a paper plate or anything that you have, but you just want to pour out just a little bit, like a tablespoon worth. All right, and then you're just going to dip your sponge dauber into it, and you're just going to pounce it, and the same thing, you're just going to pounce it over the top of your stencil. You don't want to rub it back and forth because if you do, it's going to get up underneath those lines. So you're just pouncing it. All right, and then when you get that done, we're going to pick it up, and you should see that you have your lines there. Hopefully you didn't move it, and it's nice and crisp. I just realized I've got my two pieces together here, so I'm going to have to pick one up in a minute. One of them is taped down and the other isn't. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I don't have to go in as far. I can go in a lot. I can go in whatever. It really doesn't matter. I'm only going to see like maybe just a little inch or two of it. So again, same thing. I'm going back to here and I'm just putting it down, just sponge dabbing it down. In this regard, more is better, or I'm sorry, less is better. You don't want to have too much or it's just going to seep it down underneath this pattern. And my pattern is so little, like the design has just so little, what do you call it? Doesn't even look like I got much over here. So I'm going to go back to it. It's such a thin pattern here. It doesn't have a real thick border in between that I want to make sure that it's going to show. All right, so here's one. And as you can see, because it's got like a little liquid in it, it is going to warp your paper just a little bit. Again, same thing. If you have much on here, the more you have, the more it's going to make your paper curl. But honestly, as soon it's going to dry. In fact, it's already dry. So because of the alcohol, it dries super, super quickly. So you don't have to worry about it. But once you can put it in a page protector, it's going to be just fine. All right, so now on this one, I'm going to do it on the top corner again, like we did before. I need some more of this. So I'm going to pour a little bit more out. Okay. And I'm going to do it along the top right corner and top left corner. Okay. All right, there we go. And that's it. And then what you want to do is real quickly, we're going to go and wash our stencil so that if you do use a color, you just kind of get into the habit of washing it so that it can come off without staining. So let me go do that real quick. Sometimes a baby wipe will work perfectly and it will do exactly what you need it to. But with the colors and stuff, if you have the opportunity to take it to a sink or something, I highly recommend that, just because that's going to help you do what you want to do or get it going. So, all right. So for the rest of this, it's really very simple. I'm going to just show you really quickly. Again, this is already dry. Now, because it is the mica powder, because it does have the hairspray is going to help it stay on a lot heavier or a lot better than even just our shimmer pens. A lot of times with our shimmer pens, that has the alcohol in it, but it doesn't have the hold that a hairspray does. So after you put your hands on it, sometimes you'll see a little bit of the shimmer come off. You will probably with the same thing with this, depending on how much you use with the mica powder, you may get a little bit off as well. But as you can see, I touched it and I don't really have anything on my hand. So it's going to hold on a little bit better than you might have thought, I guess is the best way to say it. All right, so I'm going to just take out all my pieces here so that I can have them in front of me. That's going to be easier for me to do. And I taped this one down, so we're just going to start with this one. This is going to be our left side anyway. And I'm going to take the piece that has the stripes and we're going to go ahead and put this down. Now, actually, before I start, I am going to do my journaling lines, or not journaling lines, but my border lines, because I do enjoy doing that. And I am going to move it because every time I write, I have to do it at an angle. What I talked about in my last class too is I've always told you go down because you can move your arm down. And honestly, that is the best way to do it. But each person is different. And I've learned that I have a more straight line if I go across, just like as if I were writing. The only problem is I can't, there comes a point where I've got to lift my arm because I can't move over any further, right? So I have to be careful when I do that to kind of start at the same place. Now I'm going to go down. I'm going to show you what I mean. I think going across was a little bit better, but this one actually is working okay. Sometimes I see myself move a little bit better, or move a little bit more. And then same thing going across. So just do whatever works for you, whatever you prefer. By picking it up, I almost always get that little jolt there that I really don't like. So, I mean, it's one or the other, you know? But again, it's not meant to be perfect. It is just a natural little line that you can put here. If you want it perfect, get your ruler out. All right, so now I'm going to take this little stripe piece. We're going to put it down about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of our page. Just like that. Then we've got these little pieces here, and we're going to put these going into our page. This is, and you can do it however you want. I like it. This is our zip strip, and I liked it with the curly cues facing down, so it kind of looked like lights hanging. But you can do it however you like, up or down. Okay. And then we've got our thin little strips here. Now this layout I honestly think would be perfect if you have snow, because the circles, the little owls in their snowsuits, whatever, I think that's perfect for snow. But that's totally up to you. We're going to do this on each side. Just like that. Now you've got your photo mat, and we're going to put our photo mat right here. But before I put it all the way down, I'm going to adhere it down just because I want to show where it is. But I do want to take one of these pink little pieces. And if you don't love pink, you can leave it off. But it's just going to be a nice little decorative piece for behind our title. You can have it going straight across, or you can have it kind of coming up at an angle. On the other side, it is going to be at an angle. But on this one, I did leave it kind of going a little bit more straight across, and I didn't show a lot of it, but enough that I felt like I was getting some of the color. And you can decide which color you prefer. Some, depending on what piece you got, some of the pinks match a little bit better than others, especially if you're looking at the outer rim. So you just kind of play with it, decide what you like. I think I like that darker side better. So I'm actually going to do it. I want to see where I'm going to put it. So before I put down my photo mat, I'm going to put this down just like that. And that's going to help pull out some of that color. So that's why we did it, or why I did it that way, so that you could have a little bit more color to this design. So again, I'm just lining this up. I'm showing about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch, just like that. And then I'm going to take the Love You Always, and I'm going to put this right here at the top. Now, as I adhere this down, I'm only going to put adhesive right here on the love part, the You're Always, or however you say that. I want to be able to slide my picture up underneath there, so I don't want to put that there. You could also put this up with 3D foam tape. This is a layout, so there's definitely a little bit more grace with it. You're not trying to put it in the mail, most likely. And there you go. All right. And then we'll go back and put our little owls on here in a minute when we get that done. So I'm going to turn this over and take off my adhesive. And then I'm going to get out my other piece. And here's my other piece here. And on this one, you can see it's starting to bend a little bit. That's just from using the hairspray. So I'm just kind of bending it back in place, and then again, I realize when I put it in a page protector, I'm not going to have an issue. So let me put my lines on it real quick. And the lines, you know what? It's not white paper. The lines, in my opinion, are just a kind of almost the same thing that our design that we stenciled on here tonight did. It's just taking our paper and it's dressing it up a little bit. It doesn't make it look like it's just a cut or plain piece. It kind of is finalizing the details, I guess you could say, of this. And so, I don't know. I think when you look at jeans or something like that, it's like the stitching on it, except it's a straight line. And I really enjoy seeing that finalized product. But everyone is different, and so that's not your thing, it is okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is right here, we're gonna put this on right here, and I'm gonna, again, come over about 1/4 of an inch. And then we've got this strip. Now, I think I made a mistake because it's been so long since I prepped these that I used the wrong pieces on here, but it really doesn't matter. I'm just gonna cut it in half, put half of it up top and half of it on the bottom. In order for everybody to be able to have these pieces in their kit, we had to be a little bit more conservative with them. So same thing, doesn't matter, just make sure that whatever, if you have them going to the right or to the left, that you do it the same way on both sides. Then we're going to take this little strip. Now, can you tell how old this paper is? This is like from way back when, before we had two-sided B&T paper. But I love that it coordinated so well with this design that I was able to bring it in. All right, so we've got that. Then same thing, we're going to put our 4x6 photo here, but I'm going to take this piece, and I want this piece to kind of stick out at an angle a little bit, to kind of give it a little bit of a, so it doesn't look quite so, I don't know, blocky, I guess you could say. All right. And trying to decide what side I wanted. Okay. Just like that. And then I'm just basically centering it on the page. There you go. All right, so now we're just gonna, again, we're just gonna put our final details on using all of our thin cuts that we did from our owls. So whatever ones that you have, feel free. I had you go ahead and cut out a bunch of them so that you can make this however you wanted, whenever you wanted. And I did not have you pre-cut color them because, again, you may have wanted to use a different color based upon the papers and not knowing how they were going to go, that kind of thing. But feel free to change them up, do whatever you want. Because of this paper being so bright, I really felt like the gray would work well. So I'm just going to go in with a gray. And then just kind of cut the color of these in. And kind of go around the edge. And I'm trying to be a little bit more firm as I'm going around the edges, because I'm going to go really light when I get into the center. But I want it to not be just look plain white. But again, can you tell what I mean when I say that this watercolor paper just gives it that feathery type look? Pressing down just a little bit harder, but again, I'm really not trying to give it much definition. So there's that. This one can go here. And then same thing, I'm going to do it like it's the mama and the baby. So this part is pretty basic and pretty plain. Not really anything you're learning on this one, but it's always just fun to kind of play. And really, like I said, when you're using these new colored pencils, really you don't have to be as thoughtful, I think, as maybe we've had to in the past, as far as, you know, how firm to to get them to go or color. These are like the Crayola brand, I guess you could say. I hate to say Crayola, but the Crayola brand of colored pencils. You know, I don't know if you were like me, but growing up, we didn't want the generic colored or crayons because they never looked right. They didn't color the same. They were too waxy and not enough color. And these, I think, you know, I hate to say it when we get different ones all the time. It's like, really, is it really any better than the last one? But in truth, I have to say, I think that they are. So I'm just going to kind of go around here. Now, here's the one thing about using the watercolor paper, and we talked about this a little bit last time, but notice how I had a really hard time with their eyes, filling in those eyes. And a lot of that is because it's watercolor paper. It doesn't want to get into all the holes and the grooves. So just by taking your black marker, you can fill that in super easily. So there you go. And I'm going to go back with my blue and do size 2. There you go. And just for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down. I know it's getting late. I'm so thankful for you guys for spending your evening with me and having some fun. Now be careful. I didn't even think about it when I went to put this down, but be careful with the top because he's going to be overlapping where your photo is. So try not to have any adhesive there. That way you can get your photo still to lay down. I am really sad that I still am so far behind on our workshops, but I promise, and I'm sorry again if it comes across like it doesn't matter to me. It really, really does. I love to do these workshops for you and with you. I love creating, and it has just been the season, but they are coming. You should already have your November, I say already, we're only in January, right? You should have your November workshop. And then December and January's, you can still get the stamp of the month and still get your kit if you place a $50 order in the month of January. And we have a new catalog and we have fun new papers and lots of fun things that you can do. So keep that in mind as you're, you know, looking at what options are out there or what you might want to do. Keep that in mind because that's a really fun one that you could use for documenting stories and all the things that you might want to do. I think you'll enjoy that one. All right, well, I'm going to finish coloring this on my own. There's no need for you to watch me the rest of the night. But I did want to, again, say thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something and something that you will take and create. And I hope during this cold weather when you can't maybe get out or it's icy or whatever's going on, and maybe you're in an area where it's not, but you just need some creative time, I hope that this will give you that and that you will show us what you create. We would love to see it. All right, well, you have a great night, and I will talk with you again soon. All right, happy